Hey guys, welcome back to RBR. I'm your host Raz and welcome to an exceedingly wet Germany today as we start the first drive of the brand new S-Class W213 series. I have today chosen the S580, which is a hybrid V8, you'll be pleased to know. So we're going to take that for a full drive, see what the car is like, both in handling dynamics and comfort for the driver, and then comfort and control for the passenger who sits in the rear. So it's a really important S-Class video today. So today we're going to explore all the interior and the first drive of the brand new S-Class here on RBR. So my friends, the new S-Class. I think first impressions are exceedingly important, A, in a new product, and B, in a luxury product. And the first impression that I had coming into the S-Class was actually sitting in the rear of the car, because I was getting chauffeured here while I was planning to do some editing work in the back. And seeing this diamond quilted grey interior for the first time from the back, I must say, was absolutely breathtaking, particularly with the next level of ambient lighting. Stick around in the video to see it. It is truly, truly gorgeous, and it's amazing how it interacts with the voice assistant inside the car. This is, of course, an AMG line car, and you'll notice that mainly from the steering wheel that you have in front of you, which is just like the one that we saw in the new E63S. When I go on the drive, we're going to talk a lot about using the steering wheel, as I promised you guys last time, because again, it's quite a controversial steering wheel. It's got a lot of buttons on it, most of which are swiping or touching. You've got a gigantic central airbag. It's quite a thick steering wheel as well. So we've got quite a lot to discuss just while driving on how this is for the driver. So first impressions getting into the rear is of a really, really stunning and cohesive interior. First impressions as the driver is vastly different because you are greeted by a lot of controversy. First of all, the steering wheel, which I'll get onto later. Secondly, the main stuff is the gigantic screen that we have behind the steering wheel here, and the huge screen, which is your main MBUX screen in the middle here. First of all, the screen in front, it's a very thick screen. It's got a very large bezel, as has the one in the middle, to be fair. And when you look at it, most people immediately comment A-Class, and that kind of derivative of car, which is not a great starting point for an S-Class to begin on. And this is a lot of the problem that Mercedes has been facing, that they're trying to be a bit braver with the interior of the S-Class, attract a slightly younger crowd, and they're getting backlash from fans who prefer the traditional covered driver zone, and I would actually prefer a covered one, even if it had a screen inside of it. But I can understand where you guys are coming from, that these screens as your initial first impression is not great. But it's not fair to look at things in isolation and not connected when all of these things are so connected together. And when you look at the front view in a connected way, it is undoubtedly very futuristic, and it's trimmed and stitched, and the materials are of such high quality that you are left in no doubt that this is a Mercedes-Benz from the upper echelon of Mercedes. You will not mistake this car if you were blindfolded and put into it for anything but something of S-Class level. So that's something that I really wanted to clear with you guys first of all. Now, to come on to the ambient lighting, it is the most advanced ambient lighting I've ever seen in a car. It's the most advanced ambient lighting Mercedes-Benz have ever had in a car. You can select it through here on the main screen. All you have to do is swipe through and you get all kinds of colors. So, for example, we can go to red, and you can see on the actual bar that goes across the entirety of the car, I feel like it almost acts as a sensor as to where the driver or passengers are positioned. And the reason for that is this. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
Now, directly in front of me, I see the lights pulsating white because the car knows it is the driver who is currently talking to it. Similarly, if I did that in the rear, you would see that the lights around me on the rear light up because it knows which passenger is talking. And similarly in the past, when you had a simple strip for ambient lighting, this one's not a strip, it's a thick bar. It's almost like a mini display sitting within here, which is why then you get so much interaction with the voice assistant and it looks so high resolution. It's not a simple ambient lighting little strip like you find in every other car now. It's much, much more complex than that. And because of that, the lights that you get at the end of it look absolutely stunning. What's really interesting is when you change temperature, if you go hotter, the ambient light bar at the top glows red. It is so incredible. I've never seen this on any other car. Can you see that on the side here, guys? Watch this. How incredible is that? The interactivity between what the driver is doing, what the lights are doing, what the screens are doing is on a level that I've never seen on another car. The other thing I'm excited to show you on this screen and the driver zone in front is the gigantic heads-up display, and I'll do that when we go on a drive in a minute. The next thing is the screen in the middle of the car. Now, this gets a lot of flack for being Tesla-like, and I'm going to take issue with you guys because you guys said the same thing when Mercedes started the old iPad screens at the top here, like in the 205 C-Class. And then when every single car did the exact same thing, you all went quiet. Screens are simply a form factor to be used. You look at something like the Audi Q8, it's got two screens, but it's in the exact same position as this. And I promise you, other manufacturers are also going to have larger screens in a similar position going in the future. That's not the important thing. All of our phones look the same. They're simply black pieces of glass. What matters is, what is the UI underneath? What are the features and how does each car differentiate itself in that regard? You can't simply look at form factor and damn the entire car. It just makes no sense to me at all. It's just not the form factor. It's how the UI is being used, how that's interacting with the ambient lighting, the voice control, and all the other features of the car. That is what should form our opinion about systems like this. Now, I want to show you the rear of the car, but we're going to do that while I'm being driven around by Jamie. Okay, my friends, here we are, brand new S-Class. I've not actually driven it yet because I was chauffeured here by Jamie, who's currently sitting in the back, terrified because it's wet, and this is a S580 with 500 brake horsepower. It's going to be fun, and hopefully it's going to be really comfortable. So let's share the first impressions straight away. So first things first, guys, I actually like to use Apple CarPlay a lot in my cars. I'm going to do the exact same thing here because we are running very late for the airport. So Apple CarPlay, look at this first of all. Look at the size of the CarPlay screen thanks to the size of the S-Class one. How cool is that? I mean, you see that many more apps. If I go into Waze now, which is what I'm using in order to navigate, look at the size of the map. It's bloody fantastic. So that's great. That's something that is very useful in real world terms. I'm not going to tell you that, oh, I only use the Mercedes system. I do use Apple CarPlay a hell of a lot, so I'm happy that it's got proper integration within the new S-Class. So we are going to start off, I think, in comfort mode, which should be the go-to mode on an S-Class. I want to see how it behaves in terms of its steering, throttle response, etc. First of all, the little bit of the V8 rumble that I can hear is very pleasing to my AMG ears. So currently we're going through Immendingen. I'm doing only 40 kilometers an hour, and I can hardly hear anything but the raindrops outside. Even those are kind of muted. This is the quietest S-Class ever, and it's so easy to drive that it's almost like the car is almost driving itself. The steering is very light in comfort mode, but what's nice is you don't need to give it consistent inputs to stay straight or stay in any particular direction, which is a failing of a lot of comfort steering systems. This one is just really easy to drive. You feel like you can do it with a single finger. The other thing that is incredible is this rear wheel steering. Just going through a roundabout, you've seen the small roundabouts that you have in Europe and Germany, and the S-Class takes it like it's almost a compact car, and that's what Mercedes kind of cite this car as well in terms of the turning circle. If you get the extra option for it, it's 10 degrees on the rear, which is insane. Now, I had a lot of comments in the last video that, oh, well, the Audi also has rear wheel steering. Yeah, but that's 3 versus 10 degrees. That's like the difference between mine and yours. I mean, the 3 to 4 extra that I have makes a big difference. So it's been about 5 to 10 minutes, and I think ease of driving is the key word that I'm going to use here. It is so easy to drive this car. And for me, that is what S-Class is all about. It has to be effortless. And when I say easy, I mean the steering should be responsive, but not be erratic. The throttle response should be responsive, and again, not be erratic. The brakes should work when and how you want them to. Essentially, it's got to be as good as an AMG performance car in terms of its reactions, but to do it in the most comfortable way possible. And this new S-Class, I think it builds upon the natural nature of the previous S-Class, which did the same thing. Right, now I'm on a stretch of Autobahn. Let's kick it straight into Sport Plus mode and Let's see what this car can do. I like the rumble, I like the V8 revs. That sounds lovely. And it is absolutely pissing down with rain. The S-Class is so stable. 200 Ks there, and there's hardly any noise at all coming in the interior other than just the rain, I think. Then what's really nice in Sport Plus is that the steering has become heavier now, which is exactly what I want, because I want it to be that much more responsive. I'm doing close to 200 Ks on very, very wet road. I need the steering to be heavy. What's also nice is at higher speeds, because you've got the rear wheel steering, it makes the car's length feel even longer and more stable. So if I move into the lane next to me now, it's hard to explain, but it does it in a very smooth manner because of the extra turn you have on the rear wheel. And again, that's what I mean by ease of driving with the S-Class. It makes simple things that much easier. Now, of course, 500 horsepower doesn't really feel 500 horsepower because it's not that important in such a heavy car. If you're looking for speed, wait for the upcoming AMG version, which is sure to be extremely, extremely exciting. As for this, it simply picks up your pace a lot faster than a smaller engine S-Class. And of course, remember, this has got your ISG system, the hybrid, the electric starter alternator, which means you get immediate kick of torque in the lower rev range, so a very much an EV response in low speeds, allowing absolutely no lag when you want to get going, which is a lovely feeling for a driver. Again, I come back to that same point, ease of use, ease of driving for the driver. Now, I'm a bit nervous using these steering wheels because normally you'd have some nice tactile clicky ones in the last one, say if I want to turn on cruise control. I'm going to try and turn it on now and see if I can get it to work. Okay, I've managed to actually turn it on. It wasn't as difficult as I thought, and my mind is blown. The heads-up display on front, it is highlighting the car in front of me with a green line just under the lower bumper. So even though it's really rainy and I can't really see that car, the heads-up display has highlighted it for me. I've never seen anything like this in a car before. And this is what I spoke in the last video about, that you don't add features into a car for the sake of adding features. You add it to make the driver's experience better. And having a heads-up display that's able to highlight the car in front, it just blows my mind. And that is the level the S-Class is now at. No other car is at that level. So I hate it when people compare it to things that just aren't even close in this regard. Now, what I don't like about this is I have to swipe up and down, I think, or I can click. No, I can click as well on the steering wheel. All right, that's not that bad. I thought I had to swipe up and down to change my cruise control speed. I don't have to. I swipe in order to change it by 1 digit, and I click in order to change it by 10 kms. So that's kind of similar to what we had before. Mercedes drivers will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not fatal, but I really just prefer having the lovely, nice tactile switches. That's just my opinion. Now, alongside that cruise control, of course, we've got level 3 autonomous driving in the S-Class, so it will pretty much just drive itself if you want it to. At the base for the S-Class test drive, they had an extended demo for the autonomous driving as well. You can see some clips from it there. It really is next generation stuff, but of course, you need to have it authorized within your particular country in order for it to be used to its full extent. One other cool thing, I spoke about the ambient lighting, how useful it is. Let me show you something. If I try to turn into the car next to me now, watch what the ambient lighting does. You can see here, it's now actually flashing red, telling me that there's a car in my blind spot. And this is what I meant by the next generation of ambient lighting. And that is much more cohesive design with the interior and much more next level thinking than having a little flashing orange light on your side mirror like the old S-Class or other cars have currently in the market. I'm a huge fan of this ambient lighting setup. Now, of course, we've got the 9-speed gearbox in this car. How responsive is it? For a non-sport model S-Class, it shifts pretty much immediately, but in quite a comfortable way. So there is a slight delay, I guess, as you'd expect in S-Class, but by no means is it suggestion like it has been in the past. It is an actual command and the car does follow it. The other thing that I'm seeing now as I'm changing gears, that rev counter in the sport dial is so, so cool. The pulsation that we mentioned earlier, I absolutely love it. The other thing that blows my mind about the heads-up display is the augmented reality navigation. That's having the arrows point directly in front of you, which exit you should take, which lane you should be in, just like we showed highlighting the car, again, it just improves your driving experience. If you're in unfamiliar territory like I am today, it's an absolute lifesaver. And equally, you get a live video stream of what's happening in front of you with that augmented reality like you'd get in the GLE, etc., right here on the big screen. So good use of the extra screen real estate that you have in this car. So an exceedingly comfortable drive for the driver. The 580 has the ability to be sporting. It's got nice revs as well, but absolutely the focus is on ease of driving. And again, when I say that, I don't mean a laggy style of driving. I mean something that's very, very responsive, but responsive with a very heavy lean towards comfort. That's always what we've likened to S-Class, particularly in the modern age. And it's very much the case that with this one, it's brought that same game forward even further. Now I want to see what it's like to be a passenger in the rear.
So guys, welcome to the rear of the new S-Class. Now I'm a little bit squished here, so I need to solve this. There's a simple button here for reclining. Just press that. Check this out. You can see the front seat going all the way forward as far as it can, and now I can barely reach it. How awesome is that? In fact, this particular option we have on my rear seat allows me to put my legs up as well, as you can see here. Very comfy indeed. However, it does mean that I can no longer reach the lovely large MBUX screen here, no problem, because you can use the MBUX Tablet instead. Look at that. So I've got the exact same controls as I've got in the screen in front of me here. And with S-Class, it's so important that the passenger in the rear has as much control as the driver does, because more often than not, it's actually the boss sitting in the rear rather than the main person sitting in the front. As with me and Jamie right now.
Oh yeah?
I'm going to be in trouble when we get back and the cameras turn off. It's like saying something bad about your missus. Yeah. So I can set the navigation from here. I can set all of the ambient lighting. But what if I don't want to use the tablet because I'm overprivileged, I can afford to have a driver, and I don't even want to use my fingers? Perhaps I just want to instead then give voice commands like, "Hey Mercedes, give me a classic massage."
I'm starting the classic massage for you.
And turn the ambient lighting to blue.
Okay, I'm changing the colour.
So you could see there the ambient lighting was pulsating just like I showed you in the front of the car. And again, it's this interaction between software, lighting, and the user itself that creates something that, again, you just not experienced in another car. And it's fantastic that the car knows that it's me sitting in this seat who's talking. And again, if you have that identification system where you've put your face details, etc. inside, and you have an account, then your voice will be linked to that account as well. And the car will know that it's that particular user who is currently speaking. One revolutionary thing that Jamie found that made me giggle a lot was this. "Hey Mercedes,
How may I help you?
my bum is cold."
Seat heating is switched on.
How brilliant is that? Why am I so excited about this? Because I can say bum and a Mercedes S-Class will understand it immediately. This is fun. Oh, I would love to be the person in that meeting in Stuttgart who said, "Hey Gordon, we need to put the bum feature into the car," because you've won me over, guys. This is, forget the screens, S-Class knows what a bum is. "Hey Mercedes,
How can I help?
I'm sleepy."
Maybe the well-being program will help you. I will turn it on.
So this is another example of that energizing comfort thing. So it's now turned on a well-being program which will interact with the lighting. The screen in front of me has got like a nice screensaver playing that, I don't know, is it meant to mesmerize me? It's not really doing that. And I can actually now smell a certain perfume going through the car, which is pretty amazing. Now, I didn't know that that was an actual command for the car, but I just said it and it worked.
Hey Mercedes,
How can I help?
turn on the demisters.
Demisting is turned on.
My hands are cold.
Steering wheel heating is switched on.
So there you go. We didn't even know that that was a command, and really you shouldn't expect it to be, but that part of the air conditioning is linked to the vocal system as well. And again, you can turn it off using the same command. So I think the point that I'm getting at is, yes, you've got a massive touchscreen in front for the driver, but I cannot think at the moment of a single occasion where I would actually need to use that touchscreen in order to do something. I can simply just talk to the car and get it to do everything without being distracted by the screen on the side. So that is in fact very, very safe, even though we don't have that many physical buttons. The other thing I must say, sitting in the rear, is that you get a really good field of view of pretty much everything. And it feels like I can see a lot more of the road in front and the road on the side and the sky than I used to be able to in the previous S-Class. And generally the feeling of space, like I said in the previous videos, is a lot more. You've got a lot more elbow room. You've just got a feeling of airiness that you didn't have in the previous car. So when you're sitting in the rear, again mimicking the front, but if I blindfolded you and sat you within this car, again, you would be left in no doubt, thanks to the quality of the interior trim, the amount of airiness you have, the symmetry of the interior, which from the rear is absolutely gorgeous, the trims, the ambient lighting, you would be left in no doubt that you are in the absolute top level of Mercedes-Benz. And it's really important for the rear passenger to feel that more than the front in S-Class. You have to feel like you are in the king of luxury cars, and I absolutely feel that way at the moment, particularly in this spec. The two separate seats, the gorgeous grey leather, the blue ambient lighting bars. I absolutely love sitting in the rear of this car. So guys, as both passenger and driver, I'm super impressed with the new S-Class. I'm absolutely still not sold on the style and positioning of the screens, but what I'm completely blown away with is how great the technology is in real world terms. There's not features in here for the sake of having features. Every single feature I've seen, that hopefully I've shown you today, demonstrates that they've put it in there to make your life easier, either when you're a driver or when you're a passenger. And for the king of luxury cars, that is what you expect of a technological leap forward. It feels like the S-Class has jumped 2-3 years ahead of everything else, maybe even more, because everyone is going to have such a hard time keeping up with half of these features, let alone just some of the things that I've shown you today. We will no doubt do another review on the S-Class in the UK, where we'll take it on our usual roads, do some more dynamic stuff, explore the exterior and the full history of the S-Class like you love on RBR. That's not happening today because we've had a very short time on this press trip. But really in the S-Class, it's all about the drive and the interior, which we focused on today. So if you enjoyed that, please do like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I'm going to rest now. Watch this. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
Close the rear windows and blinds.
I'm closing the roller sun blind in the rear.
I think I'll have a nap. See you guys next time.